Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for our very first Sustainable Living Week. We're very excited about this. We know that Climate Action Week has been a huge success, so we wanted to expand that and start talking about other issues in the same way. So we're going to have a whole week of lessons this week. I'm very excited that you're able to join us today. Just before we get started, I'll just remind you that you'll need a pen and a whiteboard today. So if you don't already have that, maybe you could look one out while we get started. A piece of paper and a pencil will do too if you don't have a pen and a whiteboard. Okay. So what are we going to learn about this week? Quite a lot, actually. On today, Monday, we're going to learn what the circular economy is and why the fashion, and as well as all industries, but particularly our example this week is going to be the fashion industry, why it needs to become circular. On Tuesday, we're going to learn about how cotton clothes are produced and the big difference that fair trade can mean for both people and for the planet. Wednesday, we're going to learn about where our clothes go when they're no longer wanted and how can we stop them being dumped in countries like Ghana. And on Thursday, we'll learn how sustainable clothing is possible and what you can do to help. And as always, when we have a week of lessons, on Friday, we'll have an assembly to share your work and to review everything that we've learned during the week. Also, as always, we'll start today by asking a couple simple questions because I think that you might know something about sustainable living already. Let's find out. Our first question, what is sustainability? If you think that sustainability means only buying items that are labeled as sustainable, put 2 hands up. If you think it means only making and using things made from natural materials, put 1 hand up. And if you think that sustainability is a way of using resources that could continue forever without running out or causing harm, put 1 hand on your head. See what you think. Teachers, let me know what your class thinks the answer is. I'll give you a minute to think about that. Having quite a lot of schools say that they think the answer is option 3. Shall we find out which one it is? You're correct. If you said that sustainability is a way of using resources that could continue forever without running out or causing harm, and that means harm to people and the planet, then you're correct. Well done, everyone. One more question. What do we think fast fashion is? Do you think it's the habit of buying clothes as quickly as possible? Put 2 hands up. Do you think it's creating and selling clothes as quickly as possible? Put 1 hand up. And do you think it's fashion trends that change quickly? Put a hand on your head. This one seems a bit trickier, I think. I'll give you just a moment to think about that one. And again, I'm seeing mostly hands on heads. Tricky question. Not so sure. Yep, I don't blame you. This one is very tricky. So the answer that we're seeing in the chat is mostly B and C. So either 1 hand up or hand on your head. Let's see what the answer is. So the answer here is B, but really all of them could be considered correct, but B is the most accurate because retailers rely on fast changing trends and people wanting to buy as quickly as possible. But this creates a cycle of creating and selling clothes quickly. And these rates of creating and selling are not sustainable. So what would we like you to do this week? As part of our lessons on sustainability, we'd like to invite you to, first of all, Try to learn some basic stitching techniques so you can repair your own clothes. There's a resource in the resource folder included with the link to join the lesson. I'll show you one that I've done if you promise not to laugh too much. Hold on, let me just get so I can show you. So I have tried to stitch my name. This is where having a long name is tricky because I started too far over, so it's a bit squished. But this is an example of one of the things that you could do is to stitch your name, or if you have a really long name like me, you could stitch your initials. It's kind of it's a fun thing, fun way to learn different ways of stitching. Okay. And we'd like to thank Repair What You Wear for preparing the resources for this activity in particular. And the second thing we'd like to invite you to do is to become a young reporter and be inspired by the short video Fast Fashion Dining that was created by one of our young reporters 2 years ago, I believe. And we'd like to invite you to get a group together and use your voice to educate and advocate for the changes necessary in the fashion and textile industry. And again, your teacher can find more information on this in the resources folder. Now, do we have our whiteboards and pens ready? Just one final reminder before I hand over to our friend Lorna Conway from Zero Waste Scotland, who is going to talk to us today about the circular economy and fashion.
Right, thank you so much, Katrina, and good morning. It's really lovely to be here for the first lesson of Sustainability Week here at Keep Scotland Beautiful. So my name is Lorna Conway and I work at Zero Waste Scotland. So I don't know if you've heard of Zero Waste Scotland, but you can see the wee logo up here in the corner of our slide. And really what we do is we work across Scotland trying really hard to think about our waste and think about other ways we can use our waste to reduce the amount of waste that goes to landfill. So what I'm going to talk to you today about is a circular economy, which is maybe something you haven't heard of, but I'm hoping by the end of today you will have, or the end of today's lesson, you'll have a much better idea of what the circular economy is. So our first part of today's lesson is a little quiz for you. So I'm hoping you've got your whiteboards ready to note down a couple of answers. I'm going to ask you 3 questions just to get you thinking about how sustainable you are in this Sustainability Week. So 3 questions I'm going to put up in the slides, and I want you to just write your answer A, B, or C. I'll go through the answers just now and you can decide which option you would go for. So the first question is, you have been invited to a family wedding and need a new special outfit. What do you do? Do you ask a friend if you can borrow an outfit? Do you look at second-hand options? Or do you buy a brand new one? So if you can note down A, B, or C for your answer on your whiteboards. Okay. And next question. You need a new jumper. Your old one has holes in it. What do you do? Okay, so you need a new jumper. It could be a new school jumper, a new hoodie. It has holes in it. What would you do? So would you sew up the hole or make a patch for it? In other words, would you repair it and still wear it? Would you take it to a charity shop or take it to a clothing bank so the fabric can be recycled? Then look at second-hand options. Or C, would you throw it away and buy a brand new one? So A, B, or C. Okay, so just note on your whiteboards your answer. And your final question is, there are leftover vegetables in the fridge, just about out of date. What do you do? So you've got all these vegetables that are just about to go out of date in your fridge. What would you do? Would you A, make vegetable soup with them and freeze it for a cold winter's day? Would you put them in the compost heap? Or would you just throw them away? Okay, so you note down A, B, or C. Okay, so I hope you've got 3 answers written down, and what I want you to look at and see which one you've written most often. Have you written A most often, B most often, or C most often? If you've written one of each, then I would just probably go for B because you're probably sitting somewhere in the middle. Okay. So if you are mostly A's, then I'm very, very impressed. You are absolutely brilliant. You are green screen superheroes. And you're always thinking of new ways to be more sustainable and waste less. So you're always thinking about your waste, and you're always thinking about how you can maybe use your waste rather than just putting it straight into the bin. So that's brilliant. If you're mostly B's, you are a green champion. And that means you're already living sustainably. So you're always thinking about sustainability. But what you can do is keep thinking about how you can waste less and new ways to waste less. And hopefully this week will give you a better idea of ways that you can waste less. And if you're mostly C's, you're a green change maker. And I think mostly C's are really important because you are the ones that can make the most change. And especially this week, if you're learning about new ways to be more sustainable, you can make the most change this week because you'll have a better kind of starting point to think, right, okay, I need to be better kind of thinking about what I'm doing with my waste and where my waste goes. Okay, so I hope you've all got what you are, if you're a green superhero, or if you're a green champion or a green change maker. And we'll just move on with what I'm going to talk about today. Okay, so in today's lesson, we're going to look at three things. We're going to look at the linear economy, we're going to look at the circular economy, and we're going to think about the circular economy in fashion. Now, I know these words will probably be quite new to you, and they sound quite complicated, but I really want you to think about how actually these words are very descriptive. They tell us exactly what we're going to talk about. So the first one there, the linear economy, has the word line in it. And we all know what a line is. A line has a start and a finish. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today when we're talking about the linear economy. The circular economy is obviously a circle, okay? And obviously a circle doesn't really have a start or an end. And that's what we're going to think about today when we're thinking about the circular economy. So don't worry that these terms might be really new to you or you don't really understand what they are, because actually you know what a line is and you know what a circle is. In terms of that word economy, economy is just how we make things and how we sell things and buy things and how we employ people and how we create wealth and money in a country. So economy, again, can be quite a complicated word, but really it's just about how we live in a country and how we make products and how we sell products and make profits. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So again, just as a wee starter, wee traffic lights, again on your whiteboard or on your jotter, I want you just to think about these three statements. The first one in red, the circular economy, never heard of it. The second one, amber, I have heard of the circular economy, but I don't know much about it. And the third one, green, I'm an expert and know all about the circular economy. So I just want you to have a wee minute to self-reflect and just think, oh, am I red? Am I I don't know anything about circular economy, in which case put a wee maybe R on your whiteboard. If you're kind of heard of it, you kind of know what it is, then maybe put a wee A for amber. And if you're an expert, well, I am super impressed, put a wee G because you already know everything that I'm going to talk about today. So note down on your whiteboard if you are red, amber, or green. Okay. Okay, so I'm sure we've all seen photos like this before, and this is just to get us thinking about what we mean when we say throw it away. And I'm often saying just put it in the bin or throw it away, just in my family. But what I want us to think about is what that actually means when we say throw it away. Now, can anybody tell me what this photo is? Can anybody type into the chat what they think that photo is a photo of?
Lorna, if you're not
Oh,
able to see the
yeah,
answer,
I can see it now. Yeah.
Okay, good.
That's
okay.
good. Right. So landfill, brilliant. Landfill waste, excellent. Dump, another good word there. Yeah, exactly. Now this is a landfill. Now, obviously it looks like an actual mountain. So it's a mountain of waste. And you can see there's 4 or 5 bulldozers sitting on that mountain of waste. And you can imagine in that mountain, there is a lot of, for example, clothes. There's probably a lot of food waste, a lot of domestic waste, and that's just all going to what we call landfill, which usually means it ends up in a big hole in the ground. And that can be really, really bad for the environment for a number of reasons. Because when that decomposes, it can create greenhouse gases like methane, and obviously greenhouse gases go into the atmosphere, and that adds to our climate change. So what we do at Zero Waste Scotland, we try to think about how can we stop this from happening, but how can we think about using this waste as a resource rather than just putting it in the bin. So I've noted down here this idea of spaceship Earth. Now we live on a spaceship, we live on planet Earth, and it's a bit like a spaceship because we are not getting any extra stuff from anywhere or from anyone. So all the stuff that we have on our planet is everything that we have and everything that we need for the future. And we're obviously using all that stuff at really high quantities. And we need to think about what's going to happen if we run out of that stuff. And we need to think about the waste that we're creating from that stuff and think about how can we maybe use that waste instead of sending it to landfill. Can you think of anything that we're using up in the planet that maybe we will run out of? Can you think of anything that we're using lots of at the moment and it's not going to be here forever? Again, is there anything you can put in the chat that you can think of stuff that we use that's not going to be here forever? Oil, yeah, absolutely. Wood, good, perfect. Fossil fuels, yep, so we need all these fossil fuels for energy. Coal, yep. Plastic. Trees, yep. Yeah, a lot of this stuff, lithium, that's a great answer. A lot of lithium goes into our mobile phones. We use mobile phones a lot. Good, all the minerals, exactly. So these are all what we call natural resources, and these are all resources that come from our planet. And we use them up on our spaceship, and they usually end up going to landfill. And what we need to think about is how can we stop that happening? But how can we reuse or remanufacture or think about using these materials again rather than sending them to somewhere like this, to a landfill site? Okay. So first thing we're going to think about then is this idea of the linear economy. Okay, now remember I said earlier about this idea of a line has a start and a finish. So again, we're just going to think about what this means, this linear economy. So just to get us thinking about this, I'm going to ask you 3 really quick questions and just have a wee think, and your teacher can maybe type in the answers into this. So the first one, we want to upgrade our phone. What do we do? Think about what we do. If we want to upgrade our phone, what do we do with our old phone? What happens to our phone? So anything, what do we do when we want to upgrade our phones? Recycle the old one, good, brilliant. Sell their old one, excellent. Trade it in, great answers. Buy a new one, sell old one. Give old one to a family member, brilliant. Pass it on to someone else, sell it. Give old phones to charity. Recycle it. Good, these are all brilliant answers. Now, the one thing I would say about when we upgrade our phone, usually when we upgrade our phones aren't broken. They're probably still in really good working condition, but what we're thinking about is, oh, we want the newest phone with the newest technology. But actually, we could probably keep our phones on us for a bit longer, and we could use them for a bit longer, because at that point when we're going to upgrade them, they're probably still working really well. So I like the fact that we're thinking about recycling and trading them in, but should we be thinking about maybe just using them for a bit longer? And if they do break, could we repair them rather than trading them in and getting a new one? What about this one? When the straps in our school bags break. Now, this happened to one of my sons this morning. His packed lunch strap broke. What do you think I said to him? What do you think we did to the school bag? What would you do if your school bag breaks? Fix it, sew it, brilliant. Stitch it, sew it. You guys are all green heroes. Well done. Hold it from the top. Excellent. Repair it or get a new one. Perfect. Great answers. You are all thinking sustainable already. This is brilliant. So when the straps in our school bags break, yep, we could repair them and still keep using it, absolutely. Or we could use duct tape to fix it, absolutely. So we're thinking about repairing. So you guys are already thinking about being a bit more circular, which is great. Quite often when I ask that question, people will say, oh, I'll just go and buy a new one, because school bags can be you can buy school bags quite cheaply. So instead of going to repair them, I might just go and buy a new one. And that's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to avoid buying new when actually we can repair and reuse what we already have. Now, this is an interesting one. When our shoes need resoled, so that means you've maybe got a wee hole in your shoes, or they're maybe not as waterproof as they used to be. What would we do then, do we think? If they're just not doing what they should be doing? Patch it, special glue. Yep, you can get special glue for things like this. Take it to Timpson's. Brilliant. Good. So you might take it to the cobbler and get it resoled, absolutely. And then you can keep wearing the shoes. And that's a brilliant thing to do. And I'm so glad you've put that in there. Quite often, though, again, when I've asked this question, quite often people will say it's actually more expensive to go and get your shoes resoled than to go and buy a new pair. So we need to kind of weigh it up as well. And we need to, if we want to be much more sustainable, we need to think about the cost of being sustainable, and we need to make it easier for things like getting our shoes resoled. But I love that you're putting in Timpson's there, and you're putting in ways of repairing your shoes. So this idea of a linear economy is this idea of a start and an end point. Okay, so when we talk about a linear economy, what we're talking about is this idea of taking those natural resources from the planet, making things, using them, and then wasting them and just sending them to landfill. And that's what we call a linear economy. And that economy is not sustainable on our spaceship Earth. Okay, we can't keep just taking resources, making products and making stuff, using them, and then just wasting them, because that's just, we're going to run out of our resources eventually. So we need to think of new ways. We need to think of ways of stretching the lifetime of these products, or we need to think of ways of keeping products in circulation for longer. And that's where this idea of a circular economy comes in. Okay, so this linear economy is something we need to rethink. Okay, so this is a little picture of the circle of life. Now, I thought I'd put this up because this gives us a really good example of what the circular economy is in nature. So in nature, there is no waste, there is no landfill. Okay, everything is used in a continuous cycle, and it's a perfect example of a circular economy. So nature is powered by the heat and the energy and the light from the sun. So all the energy comes from the sun, and that doesn't pollute. Okay, the sunshine, super sustainable. Okay, but everything within this cycle of life isn't wasted. So an animal's waste, for example, could be another animal's food. And when an animal dies, it decomposes and goes back into the soil and adds nutrients. And then from that, new life comes, new plants come, and that is the food for more animals. So within the natural world, we have this natural circle of life, or circular economy. And that's what I want us to think about today, this idea of how can we, on planet Earth, on our spaceship, how can we have this idea of no waste and no landfill, and everything is used in a continuous cycle? And that's really where we want to get to eventually over time. But it's going to take us a long time to get there. But you guys have definitely started this journey, which is great. Okay, so that's just a wee reminder then of this idea of what we mean by a linear economy. So a linear economy is we're taking, we're making, we're using, and we're wasting, or we're binning. And a circular economy means there's no binning. We keep everything in a cycle and everything in circulation. And actually, everything that we waste is valuable, and everything that we waste is a resource. And we need to think about how we can use that resource better. So I'm going to show you a little video just now.
We're on a mission to help change our current way of living, to make more sustainable choices.
That
use
was
the
working.
things we need responsibly, share resources, and do better for our planet. Evidence estimates around 4/5 of Scotland's carbon
Oh, sorry.
footprint comes from the products and services we manufacture. Material consumption and waste are the primary drivers of nearly every environmental problem we currently face, from water scarcity and flooding to habitat and species loss. To truly end our contribution to climate change, we need to rethink how we consume and make system-wide changes to help us do so. We know that a solution to this is moving from a linear economy, where we make, use, and dispose, to the circular economy, where everything has value and nothing goes to waste. Here is our friend Zero to help us explain this alternative and innovative economic model. From businesses to individuals, we can choose to design and use products with the intention of stretching the lifespan of that item. This way, things can stay in circulation for as long as possible, and we can maximize their value. Whether that's sharing, leasing, reusing, repairing, refurbishing, or even recycling, instead of buying brand new and then throwing away. What would this mean for an everyday item, like a pair of jeans? Well, in a linear model, we would buy the jeans, wear them, and then throw them out when they're no longer in fashion or fit us. In a circular model, if the jeans ended up having a hole in them, we'd repair them. Over time, as they become more worn, we would maybe downgrade them from the smart pair we'd wear out to the ones we wear around the house. And then we would even repurpose the jeans into shorts and use the offcuts to repair other pairs of jeans. From a business perspective, we might not even own the jeans. We could lease them from the manufacturer who is responsible for their maintenance, so they might be repaired at regular intervals and that way last even longer. This could be jeans for life. Scotland is already making fantastic progress towards a circular economy, but we still have a way to go. Currently, it takes a lot of resources to produce and manufacture everyday products, which contributes massively to the carbon emissions that are overheating our planet. There are hidden carbon emissions in everything we buy, from mining, processing, packaging, transportation, especially of imported goods. With every purchase, we put pressure on our planet, making the Earth hotter and hotter. By embracing the circular economy, we can help save our planet, save us money, enhance our well-being, boost economies through job creation, and rebuild our sense of community. Living circular means making the most of what we've got and keeping things in use for as long as possible. There are businesses and individuals already adopting and seeing the benefit of living circular, many of which are across Scotland. Right on our doorsteps. By working together, we have a huge and vital opportunity to accelerate our circularity and to change Scotland and the world for the better. For more information and advice on living circular, visit www.zerowastescotland.org.uk. There's no time to waste. Our planet needs us, so let's do all we can to help.
Okay, so that was just to get us thinking about this idea of what we mean by circular economy, and there's a really nice example in there about jeans and how we can think about reusing our jeans, repairing our jeans, or even renting our jeans, which is a nice kind of new service that we're starting to see being offered, where we can actually hire clothes or rent clothes and they can be fixed by the manufacturer and sent back to you. So there's all these new exciting models that are coming into the economy that we can think about, just thinking differently about the things that we buy. And we're going to do a quick quiz on that right now. So again, this is just going to be a wee 3 questions, and you can discuss it in your class, and maybe your teachers can type in the chat what your answers are. But we're going to think about cars, we're going to think about power drills, and we're going to think about bananas. So the first question here is, how long do you think the average car is parked in its lifetime? Okay, so you've got a car. How long is that car parked and not actually used or driven? So have a wee chat in your class. You've got 52% parked, 72% parked, or 92% parked. So have a wee think, and again, put in the chat what you think your answers are. Mrs. Clark, 52%. So half of the time it's parked. Okay, 92% coming through, 92%. So we've got loads and loads of different answers there, 72%. Okay, so the answer is, in actual fact, a car is parked for 92% of its lifetime. So actually it's only used for 8% of its lifetime. Now, that is a shocker. It was a shocker when I found that out as well. Now, what we need to think about is, how can we use a car differently? How can we think about ways of using it more, or getting more people to use a car, or just making sure that the amount of carbon that is in that car is captured in a way that we are using it to its absolute best. So there are different ways that we can think about using cars in a different way. For example, I don't know if you've seen in some of the cities around the UK, you can hire bikes, for example, and you can just go and you can hire a bike from somewhere in one of the streets and then go cycling around a city, for example. And cars could be used in the same way. So we could start thinking about sharing cars, or being able to just rent a car when we needed a car, or having community cars. So having a car in the local community, and you just use a wee app and you just log into the app whenever you want to use the local car. So there are different ways to think about how we're using our resources, and to make sure we're getting the best value and using them the most efficiently. Next question. Okay, so again, you've got 3 options here. How many minutes do you think on average a power drill is used in its lifetime? So you've got 13 minutes, 13 weeks, or 13 months. So I'm sure at home you've got a toolbox and maybe a drill in it. Have a wee think, how often has that drill been used in your household? 13 minutes, 13 weeks, or 13 months. Okay, so we've got 13 weeks. 13 weeks, yep. So just over a year. Oh, 13 weeks. 13 weeks. Minutes. 13 minutes. Mrs. Spears, please come in. 13 months. Okay, I'm going to give you the answer. The answer is, in fact, another shocker, 13 minutes. So again, this is research that Zero Waste Scotland have done. And in actual fact, a power drill is used for only 13 minutes of its lifetime. And again, crazy, huge amount of waste going into that resource, and it's using a lot of precious metals and that sort of thing. And again, we should be thinking about how can we use that resource much more efficiently. And you might have heard of local tool sheds, where you can go and borrow tools, or borrow these kind of resources that you don't use that often in your household. So it's a bit like a library. You know, when you go to a library, you borrow a book and then you take the book back. Same here with power tools. We have these what we call tool sheds, and you can just go and borrow a tool and use it for whatever you need, and then take it back. And that way we're getting much more efficiency out of these resources. So these are all kind of wee ideas that you can start thinking about in terms of how can we use materials more efficiently and better. Last one is your banana. So what percentage of banana is used and what percentage is wasted on average? So 33%, 55%, or 77%. Okay, so how much of the banana is wasted? Okay, 55% wasted, half of it, just over half wasted. 77. 55, yeah, a lot of 55s. Actually, it's a little bit better than that, so it's 33. So I think on average, most people will eat the banana and leave the waste as a banana skin. And again, a lot of chefs and a lot of recipes are now starting to think about how can we use banana peels in food recipes. I know there's a very famous curry that is made from banana peel, which I've never tried, but we are starting to think about how can we use all of the, these food resources that we have rather than wasting so much of the food resources that we have. So well done, everybody. Excellent. That's got us all thinking differently. So it's this idea of thinking about resources differently and how can we make sure we're getting the most efficiency out of our resources. So I'm going to set you a little challenge now. So this is your circular fashion challenge. This will probably take 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, so again, if you've got your whiteboards ready, that would be great. Or if you have your jotter ready, that would be great. So clothes make up 4% of household waste by weight in Scotland. Now, I know that doesn't seem a lot, but really there shouldn't be any clothes going into our household waste. We really should be trying to recycle our textile waste. And globally, the equivalent of a garbage truck of clothes is thrown away every second. Okay, so that is on our planet, on spaceship Earth again, we are throwing away a truck full of clothes every single day. And you'll learn this week about why that's so important and how clothes are made and the impact that the manufacturing of clothes can have on the environment as well. So what I wanted to think about is this idea that this is this linear economy we spoke about earlier, this idea of taking, making and wasting. And what I want us to think about today is how can we make fashion more circular? So we want to move away from our take, make, use, waste economy, and we want to move towards a circular economy. So this is your challenge here, to turn fashion into a circle. So what I want you to do is to just sketch out the wee diagram here, and instead of putting in the numbers between the arrows, I want you to think about putting these words in between the arrows. So starting at number 1, I'm going to help you for the number 1, and then I'll leave you for a wee minute or two to try and fill the rest in. So number 1, instead of putting number 1 in there, we would put in design and make. So we still need to design and make our clothes. So number 1 would be design and make. But what I want you to think about is what words would you put in for 2, 3, 4 and 5 to make fashion more circular rather than linear. So I'll give you a few minutes to do that if you want to sketch it out. And it would be great to see some of your answers. If you've got photos later on, you could share them. That would be brilliant. And I'll put the answer up in a wee second, okay? Okay, would anybody like to share what they've put in for number 2? Wear with care, brilliant. Absolutely, and that wear with care is a really important part, and that can be as simple as maybe washing less or washing on a cooler temperature, or just being careful when you're wearing something to avoid it getting damaged. So the wear with care is really important. What about number 3? What do we think for number 3? Repair, brilliant. Exactly. So if we get a wee bit of damage in our clothes, we can repair them. Absolutely. Good. We're all getting the same answers. It's excellent. Okay, so we've designed it, we have made it, we have worn it with care, we have repaired it when we've had to repair it. What about number 4? What do we think we should put in them for number 4? Donate or reuse. Perfect, brilliant. I actually saw a really nice programme over Christmas, and somebody was turning their Christmas jumpers into Christmas cushion covers. So reusing them. So instead of wearing the jumper, and it eventually was just not wearable anymore, they reused them and turned them into cushions for Christmas, which I thought was great. And finally, that leaves us with recycle or compost. Well done, everybody. That's brilliant. So that's us turned fashion into a circle. So we should have something like that, where we've got our design and make, we wear with care, we repair, we donate or reuse, and we recycle or compost as a kind of last resort. And obviously that keeps it all within the system. And if it's recycled, then it can be turned into something else. And if it's compost, if it's certain cotton and that sort of thing that can be put into the compost, that'll go back into soil and help plants to grow in the future. So brilliant, that is our circular economy for fashion. So that's us moved away from linear to circular. And again, I've just got a really quick wee video. Hope this one works. Let's go.
Hello, Fox. What are you doing today?
Oh, hello everyone. I'm on an adventure to reduce waste. I'm trying to find some food. I like fruit, but I don't like old clothes or plastic bottles.
That's a lot of rubbish.
That's not rubbish. These things can be used again. Let's go on an adventure to reduce waste. Look, there are lots of clothes here that don't belong in this pile. This is really bad for our planet.
Why is throwing clothes away a bad thing, Fox?
A lot of materials and energy is taken from our planet and used to make these clothes. They are worn for a while and then they are thrown in the bin. That's a waste because someone can use these fabrics again. See, we should make a circle and avoid putting things in the bin that don't need to be there.
Okay, so what should we do instead?
First of all, let's reduce the amount of new clothes we buy. If everyone in your class bought a new top today, think about how much waste we could make. How many t-shirts would your class throw in the bin?
But those jeans have a hole in them, Fox. Surely they have to be thrown in the bin.
Well, when we throw something in the bin, it doesn't just disappear. Everything we make stays on our planet. Just look around you.
Wow, that is a lot of waste. Can we repair our jeans to make them last longer instead?
Yes. We can also give our clothes a longer life by selling or swapping them with others so they can go to a new home instead of landfill. Reusing clothes helps us to waste less. Here, I'll swap you these jeans for your rucksack.
Great idea! Clothes swaps are fun.
Finally, we can also remake and recycle our things so that they last longer. Look, I have made my jumper from materials that others have thrown away instead of taking more new materials from nature.
That's such a cool jumper, Fox.
Thank you. Remember, the less we buy, the less we waste.
Okay, so there's some resources in the pack that will help you do some wee activities with Fox as well. There's lots of other wee videos you can watch there as well. So it's a really good resource if you're doing this in class or in school. Right, we're just coming towards the end of this lesson now, and I think that a lot of you are already living circular because you've given me some really great answers today, which has been brilliant. And maybe you didn't really even realise you were working or living in the circular economy. So these are just some wee ideas that you can maybe think about in your school. But I know, and I was quite keen to hear if you already do some of this stuff in your school. If you have things like clothes swaps, or do you have rails outside your school where you can swap clothes and jumpers? You can let me know in the chat if you're already doing a lot of this stuff. Yeah, I'm just about to finish. Swap shop, Mrs. Clark has a swap shop, brilliant. Rag bags, excellent. Jumper swaps, great. Sounds like you are already doing loads in the circular economy, which is brilliant. Okay, so we're just going to finish with a quick true or false to get us just for the last 5 minutes here. Christmas jumper swap, they're brilliant. My boys' school have that as well, which is great. Okay, so again, on your wee whiteboards, if you want to just, these are 5 questions. If you want to just put 1 to 5 in your wee whiteboard, and you can put true or false and see how many you get out of 5, and that will be us just finishing up. So circular economy means no landfill. Is that true or false? You could put T or F. T or F, true or false? T, good. Answer is true, brilliant. Next question. The circular economy just means recycle stuff. Is that true or false? What do we think? T or F? False. False, false, false. Brilliant. Answer is false. Good. In a circular economy, we could rent clothes instead of buying them. What do we think? True. Great. I think you're going to hear more about that this week as well, which is super. Products in the circular economy are kept in circulation for as long as possible. True or false? True, great. And final question, nature is the original circular economy. Is that true or false? Brilliant. Okay, so that's true. Okay, so we're just going to finish up there. Apologies for my technical hitches during that. But if you just want to rate yourself again with the traffic lights at the end of this lesson, so just think about the circular economy, never heard of it, R, I'm hoping you're no longer R if you were R. I've heard of circular economy, but I don't know much about it. You might now have moved to amber, which is great. Or you might be green, I'm an expert and know all about circular economy. So I hope you have learned something. I hope you've moved up one of the traffic lights at least. And you've got a better idea of what we mean by circular economy and also linear economy, but also have a wee idea of what you can do and what you're already doing to be more circular. And I will stop there. Great answers today. Well done for Monday morning. And I appreciate being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was great. I hope we have a lot of green experts out there now. Just before we go, I wanted to thank the Peterborough Environment City Trust for letting us use their video with Mr. Fox in it. And I also wanted to remind you that if you have any questions about today's lesson, you can find us on social media at KSB Scotland. And you can also email us at ecoschools@keepscotlandbeautiful.org if you have any other questions. And if we can send the answers to you, or we can put the answers in our assembly on Friday, which I hope that you can join us for. There we go. Thank you to PECT. And there's our email address. And if you start any of the activities like sewing your name or starting a video on fast fashion, we'd love to see your work. So please feel free to email us at ecoschools@keepscotlandbeautiful.org with pictures and what you thought of today's lesson. There's our social media handle. We're on most social media channels. You can find us there. And thank you so much for bearing with us with our technical hitches on today and for joining us on today's lesson. Remember that we are back tomorrow with more about the circular economy and how you can live sustainably. And I hope to see you then. Until then, bye for now.